This is Gerardo Del Real live from the 2023 Beaver Creek Precious Metals Summit here with Miss Gwen Preston, the resource maven. Gwen, how are you? How have you been?
I'm doing pretty well, for sure. I mean, this is an amazing place, an amazing conference, beautiful, and full of ideas, so I like it.
Let's talk about ideas and what you like. Obviously, it's a busy conference. There's a lot of capital that's on the sidelines right now, especially in the precious metal space, right? And so it's a great time to be betting companies and positioning yourself for that next leg higher. Though I understand that a lot of gold speculators are bored as all heck right now. So how are you playing that?
Okay, so I think there's two angles on that. And that's partly because I am a newsletter writer, so I kind of have to play two angles all the time.
Sure.
And what I mean by that is there's people who want the next hot thing, right? And I love that because I love exploration, so I'm always on the lookout for the next hot thing.
Same.
And that, I don't mean sort of hot, like let's jump onto cobalt because it's hot. What I mean is exploration stories that look likely to hit and the market will like. So I've seen a few here and I have some in my newsletter. And so those are like the short-term plays.
Okay.
Those are I think this could get exciting.
Right.
And what's cool is that the reason that I always am looking for those is because no matter what the market sentiment is, if you hit into a hot gold discovery, a hot copper discovery, the market responds, even when people don't care about copper and gold. So that's why that's always
A la Great Bear, which I know you and subscribers did great with.
Absolutely.
Congrats on that, by the way.
So that's always on the go, but it's high risk, right? I try to mitigate that risk, but with knowledge and whatnot, but it's still high risk, It's still exploration. So then the other side of it is, there's people like Frank Justra who are coming back into this space right now. He has not really played the metals and mining space for a decade because he's been out, and he thinks that right now the valuations are so beaten down and it will turn. I don't know when.
Always does.
Exactly. So for those people who have a longer time horizon, and I have subscribers like that too, there's investors out there like that. There's definitely deals out there where you're like, this at some point we'll look back and say, I can't believe that was worth only $50 million. I can't believe that was worth only $100 million.
Right.
And that's from producers, like large producers, small producers, developers. So there's assets out like, there's opportunities out there like that as well. They're not as splashy. It's harder to sell a newsletter on that, but those opportunities are also very real. So I'm looking at both.
Okay, tell me what sectors you like right now.
So I always like gold, especially on the discovery side, right? Because people love a new gold discovery. So I'm always happy to look at companies that have exciting gold discovery ideas that they're acting on. So I like that. Lithium's an interesting one.
Love me some lithium.
Obviously, it's had its ups and downs in terms of the price itself. I think that there's still opportunity for there to be some lithium success stories, stocks in Canada this year. I think even by next summer, there'll be enough discoveries that will be like, oh wait, Canada actually has a lot of hard rock lithium. But we're still early enough in the process. I love that there's a bunch of companies out there right now testing lake sediment anomalies. This is data that was collected in the 70s and was used to make a bunch of gold discoveries in the 70s and then to make copper discoveries in the 80s. And now we're using it to make lithium discoveries, but nobody had looked before. So it's a cool concept. I think it's going to get a response because everybody wants there to be another Patriot Battery Metals, right? Of course they do. So I think that could be exciting in the next little while. Bigger picture, lithium has a whole bunch of factors at play, and I'm not going to say that, the price is going to go up a lot in the next little while, but I think there's some discovery opportunity in the lithium space for sure. And then uranium. I'm a big
uranium as well.
There you go. So I'm a big uranium bull. I just had some really interesting conversations, like with Bill Sheriff, who's one of the experts, right, about some of the forces at play there, like SPUT, that Sprott Uranium, the physical trust, hasn't been in the market. There's been a bunch of questions swirling about what, if, when their existence will do to the space when they come back in. And I understand now some more about that. They're turning their attention to utilities. They're going to start, instead of selling to retail, they're going to sell to utilities with a redemption factor. I kind of have gotten into the weeds there a bit, but that actually answers a bunch of questions that were fairly fundamental to how the uranium spot price was going to be sustainable on a move up. So that's really, I was already bullish on uranium, and even today I'm like, oh, I'm even more bullish. I think there's also a lot of under recognition of the fact that Kazakh uranium is not going to be coming
Correct.
west
Correct.
in the next little while, right? And I think that that's really under-recognized, and that's a big factor. U.S. utilities, the ones that are currently needing new uranium in the next 12 months, they're having a hard time finding it. So imagine as that supply dwindles because Kazakh uranium is going elsewhere. So I'm bullish on uranium for sure.
I like it. Any companies specifically that you want to highlight, and then you have to tell everybody how they can find you for all the picks.
Absolutely. Let's see. So on an exploration front, this is maybe a little bit advanced exploration, but one that I really like is Ridgeline Minerals. So they're in Nevada. They've made a nice discovery of a nearer surface zone of CRD mineralization. They're drilling through that. I'm simplifying a complicated story, of course. They're drilling through that to test for what they believe will be stacked zones. And if they do hit into stacked zones and it validates their theory, there's a bunch of bigger companies that are watching that want to know. And Ridgeline has a couple other projects also really interesting. So I think there's a lot of optionality in what could happen with success there. But I think that one is pretty undervalued for the possibility of what's there. If you want another, so that's sort of a more base metal one, but silver.
Sure.
If you want one that's more precious, that's also discovery. I'll just talk about discovery stories. Black Wolf.
Okay.
I'm really excited about what Black Wolf is drilling at its Cantu project and at its Harry project. This is like up in northern BC and Alaska. It's right on the border there. It's splashy outcrops, never been drilled before.
Right.
Drills are turning now. The core looks sexy.
Core always looks sexy.
Yeah, it's true. That's a good point.
If not, they would be showing it to us.
That's right, exactly. The sexy core, they just hide that away. But I think that one has some, an interesting, they put out a press release last week that was misinterpreted. And so I think that actually created a bit of a buying opportunity in the stock. So those are two that I'll highlight.
All right. Where can people find you?
Right. Resourcemaven.ca, that's my website. I write a series of newsletters about what I'm buying and selling in the space. Because I like to help retail investors get the kind of information that you and I have access to by being in these networks and at these conferences. I like to help retail investors have access.
Gwen, absolute pleasure. As always, it's great catching up. Tell them again where they can find you.
Resourcemaven.ca. Thanks very much.
Thank you.